Wonder why.
I cannot talk about men's rights with him. I want to kill him in about 30 seconds. And I'm like, I'm on your team. Like, I represent dudes and I hate you.
He said, keep it out.
And I'm never extreme enough for him. And he likes to spew facts.
So in other words, it's her
always
prestige
guilty when
against
the police
his
come.
when intimacy
I'm like,
is really
what?
all that
Who-
counts.
Have you been arrested? Last time I checked, you've never even been investigated. What do you mean this?
She's bitching at her husband on live.
Yeah.
She's
And her
bitching.
husband on live
She's airing out her
television.
husband on live television. What the fuck?
The amount of respect she got for him.
Let me
No,
bring
and-
this fucker down a peg on
Yeah,
live TV.
and that wasn't terrible, but you know, I told myself I want to tell my followers too, man. It's not a good idea to get into red pill and talk. It was never supposed to be something that you're motivated to go talk to the women you're sleeping with about. And the amount of times I've naively done it, I've regretted it just on the basis that it gets nowhere. So now I'm having like some kind of social debate with the chick that I'm sleeping with. But also I'm surprised that like nobody's level-headed enough anymore to be like, I completely disagree with what he has to say. It's probably because he's a guy, so he's going to relate with the male perspective and vice versa. Like, ain't it that simple? Like, he's a guy. Of course he's going to like, can you give him that freedom to identify with a more masculine perspective? But it's like Rollo says, the feminine correct way of thinking is the only way to think. So to not lean feminine in some respect to your thinking would be to be non-human.
This always happens. He's like, you know, it's true. It's a fact. I'm like, oh my God, it's a fact again. And I do know it's true. I actually watch my poor male clients get arrested for ridiculous stuff all day. I can give you 100 case studies that would break your heart. But when he says that, I want to deck him. And why?
Wow.
Why does it have
What
to be
are we
that
talking
way? Why
about
can't you
here?
just calm down and listen and not be in competition. And I can't. I fail.
Just calm. Just listen to me. Don't have your own thoughts.
Dude, what?
Look at you, Dr. Phil's like, wow. Wow.
He's like, I'm here for
I
the
want
man,
to
but I'm gonna
deck
fight
him.
him.
Watching Rollo's face when it cuts over
Look,
to
he's
him
smiling, dude. Like, Rollo's smiling.
when she's talking, it's hysterical.
Dude. I feel that skirt should be made of denim. Damn.
Yeah. Tell me if you're going to deck me right before you do it, right? Now, Richard, what do you think about Andrew Tate?
Well, first of all, everybody has heard of Andrew Tate. Certainly everybody who's under the age of 40. He had 12 billion views on TikTok. He was searched 4 times as much as recession, for example. And so people know who he is.
Good Google search.
And I think I was actually listening to Ben earlier, and I have three sons in their 20s as well. I got to tell you, the paternal instinct in me was coming out very, very strongly listening to you. I really felt where you were coming from. But I also think the fact we're having this conversation this way tells us what a horrible mess we've got ourselves into. It is quite true that we don't have a positive vision of masculinity that we're passing on, but it has to be one that is compatible with equality between men and women. We need a positive script that we can give to our boys, and I've tried to raise my sons this way, but not one that in any way makes women seem lesser. We don't have to make women seem less for men to be more.
I got a point about this coming up.
And some of what you say has some real truth to it. There are some biological differences between us, but they're not determinative. They don't determine your role. You say the biological role. Women are designed to bear children. Well, duh. I think most women know that they bear children, but that doesn't mean that that's their destiny. That's an idea we left behind in the 19th century. And so we've got to find a way to have a really positive script for our boys that is different to femininity. I agree with that. There are differences.
I think that shit's dangerous telling women they shouldn't, like, you don't have to have kids. It is.
But they want to eventually, and it's already passed. But it's like one of these things where he says it's an idea we abandoned in the 19th century. It's like they make it sound so like long ago, and it's like, no, we didn't. No, we didn't abandon it in the 19th century.
We didn't abandon like instinctual, like what's the word I'm looking for? Instincts.
Yeah.
Like, so it's based off of like when he says biologically, it's also the way we think. And it's
it's
just like
also
we abandoned it. No,
also the way our
it's subconscious.
thinks.
Yeah.
Your body kind of thinks it for you.
Yeah.
Really. I think it's interesting that I hate this guy.
Yeah.
It's interesting how I hate him.
He says
He
later, he
sounds like-
says, like, bring it to the 21st century. And it's like, what? It's the 21st century?
No,
like,
but
gay and transgender only? Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, but I recovered my point. It's not about telling women that their only destiny is to bear children. It's more so about like something you discuss on the red pill side of things is who's going to help women discern what it is they're wrestling with when they don't start a family.
Right.
Because that's something that women talk about. That's an expression of an inner struggle they have. It's not the most dire thing in the world, but in a forum where they wouldn't feel terribly judged for it. Like they wouldn't say it to a red pill cap, but maybe to their own friends, maybe to people who they think won't spotlight them and judge them for it. That regret of not having kids, that desire to have kids before a certain age, or the abandoned decision to once have kids. It's nothing. It's something it's just too biologically wired to never fully leave your mind. And it's okay to admit that that's perfectly natural. It's not necessarily the same thing as saying that is your only destiny as a woman, and if not, then fuck off. But who's going to explain to women what it is they actually are internally struggling with or subconsciously struggling with when they're 50 and they have no family? Doesn't mean that you absolutely should have and you're fucked as a person as a result, but it's just to interpret that is you working against your own biology. So that's what you're feeling, and it's natural.
And-
Right, like a logical explanation.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
It's not a
exactly.
demonization of anything.
It's sort of like when we talk about how, like, actual finances aren't taught in school.
Mhm.
Like this should be taught to women in school. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to have kids, but you can only have kids in this time frame.
Yeah.
And I know people in real life where they waited a really long time to have kids, and I know them personally. They're
Mhm.
good people, and they've had to make. I believe now. Obviously, they're going to defend them for their actions, but personally, I believe that they made extremely rash decisions in order just basically they got with terrible dudes in order to get pregnant, because it was like either I fuck this guy,
Last ditch effort.
last ditch effort. Either I sleep with this fucking asshole,
Mhm.
and literally terrible dude. Like, oh, I fucked this dude up. If you ever came up to me, but they they ended up in but they got pregnant because it was like either I get pregnant by this dude, which is a terrible decision, or I don't have kids. And she's
Ever.
like, and
Not
I was
kids
like,
ever.
ever, and she's like, I'll have kids.
And isn't, as the older you get, the more potentially fatal the birth can be for the woman?
One of the kids she had ended up having kind of like Asperger's.
So it can be something that's like that, or even, but I'm talking about even like dangerous for not only just for the child, but like for her, like through the pregnancy,
Yeah, for
could
having
it's
childbirth itself.
Do you
Yeah,
know?
it could
Do you know
potentially fatal.
there's generally one poster woman for the idea that you could still have kids in your 50s and 60s? It's possible. It's Drago's wife from Rocky
That's
IV.
great. And you can
Bridget,
also-
Bridget Nielsen had a kid at like 60, and
Ew.
that's the
What?
poster child
Ew.
for the idea that it's still humanly
that's
possible.
not safe, dude. Dude, yeah, there's people that live to 115 as well. That doesn't mean you're gonna get there.
Except for
Yeah. Can I give you a quick breakdown of this? Just
Sure,
in
sure,
my
sure.
own
Go.
assessment. The thing about it is this is just stupid as fuck. And the reason why is because men have an urgency to reproduce from the subconscious part of the brain. And the worst it gets for us is we get horny and we either masturbate or we have sex. Now, if we have sex with a woman or masturbate, we get it out of our system. If we choose to have sex instead of masturbate, we don't actually need to get the woman pregnant to satisfy that biological urge.
Right.
But a woman hurts and deals with a miserable experience for a week out of every month ever since she gets her first period, ever since she becomes a woman, because her body is aching to produce a child every month. That is how bad the female body wants to reproduce. So we're actually going to pretend that that's just like, no, but it's just like, and I'm not saying that means you must. It just means that like how intense that is for them versus how it is for us. We can get a nut off and it doesn't have to result in a baby, but for them, they will actually be in pain, be cranky, be hormonally fucked up, be hungry for shit that'll make you fat, act like an asshole for a whole week. Like it's fucking sucks for them. Every month, their whole life. That's intense.
Yeah.
We're just gonna pretend it's not.
I look at this guy. He just looks like he's just a crybaby.